Guys, welcome to the channel. It's Boy, and I appreciate that you're here with me today. Look, I have to be a little energized because we've recharged. We're in the Volvo EX30, and I have to say, from my side, from the very first time I laid my eyes on it, man, I was like, you know what? I've seen EVs before. Some are daring in designs, some are over the top, but here I think Volvo killed it. So yeah, that's just me. And throughout the week that I've been driving this car, I've been getting like eyes on me. This thing grabs attention for days, and I have to say that I don't blame people for looking at it, probably because it's still pretty much new on the road, as much as it's been selling, because there's a reason why it's doing that. I mean, look, this is the EX30 twin motor performance ultra, which means it's the top spec of the EX30 variants, and I have to say, this thing performs. Hey, we'll talk about that more on the road, of course, but hey, this thing performs. You know what? We'll just see it on the road, of course. Look, the EX30, you'll see that it starts from around less than 800,000 at around 791,000 or so, but this one is just above 1,020,000 rands. And hey, I have to say that there's a reason why you'd pay so much for this car. But you know what? We're not gonna waste too much time just talking about it while we're not even inside. As we always do on the channel, let's get inside, hit the road, and we'll talk more about it. Let's go. So you see, guys, where I am now, I'm just away from the car and it is locked. This is the car key, right? You don't get buttons on the car key or anything like that. It uses proximity sensing to actually let you get in and get out of the car. And one thing about it is that you can also use this pad here. There's a pad here that you can use to actually unlock the car. But when I put it at the back like this, I try to open. Sometimes it doesn't open. If you're running away from someone, hey, guys, you will need to be very careful, because sometimes it's going to take time to open for you. At least to actually move the car doesn't take time. Once you put it on drive, you are ready to run away. So yeah, that's something that you need to be aware, because you don't have a start button anyway. There's no start button anyway, which means that you just, as long as it's sensing that the key is here, you can actually do that. Again, you can also use the app as a digital key. I did get the app here for EX30 as a digital key. And why is it saying no internet connection? Retry. But yeah, you can use it as a digital key. Unfortunately for now, it's not configured for that, which means that I can't use that. But if you have that digital key here, basically when you come in, it will also use the phone the same way that it uses the key, proximity sensing. Then it can start the car. You can move it without actually using the physical key. That's a cool feature. I hope Volvo brings it to South Africa as well. But you can see inside, of course, it's minimal. That means everything that you want to do, you're going to have to do it here on the screen. And if the screen is out, forget about everything else that you want to do, because it's literally this. I mean, there is not even AWD in front of you here. The only thing that you have here is this thing, which I don't know if it's a sensor or camera, but it's monitoring everything that happens in the car. I mean, everything. Sometimes I just yawn like, and then it's already telling me that maybe you need to rest or something. Man, it's so sensitive. But hey, look, it's cool features that, of course, that are contributing to safety, and you know that Volvo is very big on that. But hey, into the screen right now, when I'm driving, there's a lot that I think it might be a little bit destructive. And again, when you look at the screen for quite some time, which is the only thing that will tell you what's happening in the car while you're moving, it's telling you that, you know what, maybe you need to be a little bit more focused, because you're not looking at the road, because this is monitoring you. Whoever is in there is monitoring you. Anyway, look, you can do a lot of stuff from this screen. I don't think I will finish this. And because this has Google services, one thing that is nice about it is that they can actually update whatever that you're complaining about. Like the key thing that I'm complaining about, I'm pretty sure that they can send over the air updates in terms of the sensitivity of the keys and how then it needs to be done. So that's the nice thing about Google services. One thing probably that some may think it's not the nice thing, like me who use Android Auto all the time, if the car is not yours, of course you won't be able to connect to Android Auto and do your thing. You're going to play music via the Bluetooth media. But if it's yours, of course, you can log into Google services and then you have your ecosystem combined with the phone, the laptop, and everything else with the car. So that's one thing that is nice about it. And of course, you can watch your YouTube videos. You can do whatever that you want to do because this is Android Automotive. Of course, this is only when you're not driving. But again, in this screen, you're going to get almost everything. Not almost, there's no button. And I think I've looked at a lot of cars that do not have buttons. This one is probably one of those that is winning when it comes to not having buttons, because from the doors and everything else, we'll talk about that. Let's talk about the screen. Let's not derail. The screen, the aircon controls, you'll find them here down low so that it helps you to say that now, if you want to have that access to aircon and you're driving, it's not going to give you that much of a problem because now it's your car. You already know what happens. Seat heating as well, you'll find it here. If you want to adjust the aircon quite quickly, you can do that. It's not necessarily going to give you that much issue. Air quality, timer as well, and all those things. You know, the stuff that happens in here. And then when you come to this toggle here that has a car, it will give you the controls that you need from ambience. Sometimes at night, or when you're driving, you might just want some ambience, and then it's going to give you like a forest ambience. It's going to give you like archipelago or whatever that is, guys. You know, English is not mine. Midsummer. It has, what is this? Twilight, whatever that may be, northern lights and so on. It can play music and so on when you're doing this. I don't know if it's copyrighted and so on. I can't play it for you, but it's just your typical humming stuff. And when you're changing this as well, it's changing the ambient lighting. You'll see it in the night review if I did it before or after this review. But yeah, again, going in, you will be able to then change your mirrors from here. If you want to adjust your mirrors, you just move left or right and then use the steering wheel here to actually change that for you, like outside and so on. So again, glove box, to open it, again, you need to open it here, but to close it, you just close it like that. And then the trunk as well, you can open it from here, just like any other car that has physical buttons. You can do that as well. Exterior lighting, you can adjust them here in terms of whether you want auto, whatever. Like, it's so minimal. Think Volvo, they were saving money while making it futuristic. They've done a great job though. But for people who love physical buttons, this is going to be a little bit of a problem because you need to learn this car. But if it's yours, you will know it, of course. Then on the car status, I do have a low tire pressure. I think it's the tire pressure on the left, this one. I need to go to the garage now as actually we're shooting so I can do that. And then what are you gonna see in here? Trip information. This is the stuff, man. I've charged it. I've done 166 kilometers since I've been, what is this thing now? Yeah, 166 kilometers since I've recharged. And then it's been averaging 19.9 kilowatt hour per 100 kilometers, which is not that bad because Volvo says this can do 18 kilowatt hour per 100 kilometers. So it's not that bad for me, at least. And then when you come to the settings, you're going to find a host of stuff. From sound, of course, I've already spoken about this Google services. You're going to find profiles, which you can go in depending on whether you're the owner. And when you're changing the profiles as well, it will change the settings as well. Once you save, like if now I shift the seat a bit like this, it will bring a prompt here saying the seat, whatever change do you want to save. If I save it, then I come into my profile, then it will actually go and do that for you and just adjust back. Then when it comes to connectivity, of course, this is Wi-Fi, the same way that your tablet has. You can connect it using your phone, whatever that may be. Modem, are they still using that? I don't know. But yeah, there is one in here actually that they bring Just that is not connecting. I even forgot about it. Then the sound, of course, you know the settings for the sound. Then the controls, which is everything that you need in here, of course, to control rain sensor, you know, all this stuff box. How does it need to open? Do you want, like, guys, there's a lot of features in here. I can't finish them, but the most important features are these ones in driving. And one thing that you need to note is that this is the one that you need to know more than anything else, because when you're driving and you need to do something, this is where you're going to come. Even when you're driving, it might be bothersome, but this is where you need to come. So adapt to speed limit when it comes to steering assist, pilot assist, whatever that, you're going to find it in here. Dynamic driving, one pedal driving, of course you know about one pedal driving. It's about coming in here, and when you're leaving the throttle, it's already braking for you, and this one can brake all the way to 0 and stop. That's the nice thing about it. Then steering wheel feel, I put it on medium because, yeah, I need it a little bit firm a bit, but if it's too firm, it's a little bit too much for me. But if you want to do that performance all-wheel drive, you can actually toggle this, and then you find your full performance. We'll do that on the road right now. And then to get that maximum of the line, you can turn off the ESC, and then it's going to assist you in terms of pulling off. Then the speed limit warning, lane keeping aid, there's still a host of features in here. Like, guys, I can't finish these features, but this thing is packed with features because this is the top spec. Everything else that you want, of course, you'll find it in here. And then, of course, you do have your 360-degree camera because this is the top spec. You only get it in this top spec. Everything else that you want, you'll find in this car. So the 360-degree camera in here, it's quite all right. I can't really complain much about it. The way it looks, the way it's like quick to actually show you around and so on. You decide how you want it. This is the rear. Okay, rear. Let me turn off this. This is the front. This is the rear. This is the side. This is the side. So that's just how it looks. I think I took more time telling you about the features of this car. And you know what? Let's just go, guys. Let's just go. I need to go to the garage first. When I get to the garage, then we will start talking more about the car. Let me do that. So the other time I was here in the Jolion HEV, and I'm thinking this might be a better road for us to test this car as well. So yeah, guys, look. This thing, when I said it's a performer, I meant it's a performer. And depending on who's coming behind us, of course, I need to check. So one thing, of course, I need to put it on drive first so that we can hit the road. But look, as I said, that even when you're driving, you'll be coming here. The easiest thing is that the stuff that you need that is a little bit disturbing as well. Speed limit warning, I always fight with this. One pedal drive, you can change it easily from here. Driver alert as well, I've already complained about it, so I'm turning it off. Lane keeping aid, guys, this is probably the worst feature in here because it disturbs, it tries to correct you all the time. But what we're gonna do now is to go to driving and then put it on all-wheel drive performance so that we can see just how quickly this thing, but I said drive. There's no one behind us, so let's see how it pulls. Get ready. Everything is gonna be pulled back, guys. Like everything. This thing pulls everything back. Once you put your foot down, it's like crazy. This thing is quick, guys. It's so quick and so impressive, actually, for me, that, you know, when I think about it, if you love speed, right, and sound is not your thing, which is very rare in this world, you might just look at this, try to look at how it makes you feel on the road, and start thinking, you know what, nah, man, nah, you know, I'm starting to warm up to the EVs because of this car. I have to be honest with you, because somehow, since I got it, I've been warming up to it so much that I feel like, no, man, you know, initially I knew that Volvo knocked this thing out of the park. But now that I've driven it and I've been with it for a week, I think over the last, 400 and something kilometers, I'm thinking it's probably one of the best cars that I've driven. On the road, the way it performs, the way it moves, I mean, just to catch up to anything, it's not a big deal at all. And when you're on the road like this, man, I don't know what they've done with the suspension. I don't know if it's the weight distribution that contributes to it, because then now, of course, there will be that battery that is just right in the middle, and the way it feels on the road, man. This suspension, man, it's multi-link at the back, and look, this thing is actually quite amazing, just how well it soaks up the bumps, how well it puts its power down. It's just super amazing. It always impresses me. I ask myself that no matter when you see a car like this and you look at how much was actually compromised to get to the pricing, because EVs are quite expensive. I mean, when it comes to this car, you get the core, which is the lowest spec at around 791,000, as I said. I'll put the price on the screen, and then you get what is the second one? Why am I forgetting it? Because now I'm driving. The Plus. The Plus, which is just above 900,000, around 917, I think. And then this one, which is the top spec one. And you still have to add around 30-something thousand rands to actually get the all-wheel drive, the twin motor, which is the two motors, one in the front axle and then one just by the rear one. And I think this twin motor one, because I haven't driven the single motor one, I think for me, this is the real motivation why I would want to pay so much money for this, because it feels so I know, man, this speed is a little bit addictive. It's a little bit addictive how much torque it brings in. I mean, this thing starts at what? The single motor one, you'll get 200 kilowatts, I think, at around 350 Newton meters of torque. And then in this one, 315 kilowatts, 543 Newton meters of torque. Why am I thinking of the Raptor now? 543 Newton meters of torque. I'll put on the screen, but it piles through. One thing that is, of course, the difference is that it's, as much as it's heavy, but if I was to talk, for example, with the Raptor, and I'm talking torque figures, the Raptor is so heavy compared to this thing. This thing is still heavy though, at around 2,000 kgs, somewhere there, almost 2 tons. So if it was less than that, I think it was going to do much better. And I think it's because the all-wheel drive as well contributes to that weight, because the ones that are not all-wheel drive, or if you spec it without all-wheel drive, you won't get so much weight. I think it cuts the weight by probably 100 kgs or so. I'll just check, of course, and I'll put on the screen as well. But one thing that I was still saying around the pricing when it comes to the EVs, of course, the way it costs, it is always convincing for me to say, you know what, in the world of EVs, if I have to spend 700,000, I know what to expect. I'm probably going to get your Aura, or is it called Aura 3, right, in the country, because there's quite a difference in how it's called. I'm definitely going to get that. A BYD, I think I will get it for the price somewhere there, the price of the starting price of this. And yeah, to actually go to the established brands, you're going to pay a lot more. And one car that I can think about, it's actually the EQA, which is more or less the same size as this car, which costs a little bit more compared to this at lower spec. Yeah, I think they've done a great job. And one thing that they managed to do well is when you're looking at the interior in here. Let me pass, guys. There's no car. Woo! So one thing that I think they've managed to do well is what I've indicated. Did I say that in the intro? This was designed, of course, in Sweden, but it was made in China. If you want to win the battle right now, look at what Ford has done with the Territory. In China, you go there, you make your car, bring it all together, and voila, you have a winning combination, because you probably managed to cut some costs when it comes to labor, and the Chinese can pack up technology in the car without actually asking for too much from you. And that's what they've done in here, because Volvo was trying as much as possible to reduce the buttons as well. You can see through the doors. The one thing that this car will do to you, is to rewire your mind in terms of the buttons and where they are, how you need to reach them and so on. Because you can see on the doors, literally there are no buttons. In this door, there's literally a door handle, and this, I think, I'm saying the armrest in here. I think the tech that is in here is in the mirror, because then there is a blind spot monitoring, and I think the mirrors as well, they are heated and so on. But besides that, there's not a lot of technology in here, because even the window buttons are on the center console in here, together with the ones in the rear. The doors in the rear are the ones that has the speakers. The speakers in the doors are only in the rear. In here, you don't find the speakers. You only get the speakers in the soundbar. Look, these things are economical decisions and design decisions. That's something that you need to realize. This soundbar, of course, it is, we'll talk about it in a while. It forms, rather, it creates a little bit more class in how this car looks overall. And when you think about that, the design element was checked, and as well the cost element was checked, because they didn't need to put a lot of stuff in this car when it comes to tech and so on. And when I think about that, I'm thinking, you know what, this was a smart decision, man. Putting everything in here, yes, we might be complaining, but economically it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense that they did this. Probably it's something that you need to get used to, like opening the windows, going to the rear. You need to press this rear thing here, or touch pad that says now you need to open the rear ones, but it's only 2 buttons that are going to be used to actually do that. I think they've done a great job in minimizing as well. Or another thing probably that I forgot is that it's also sustainable, because they didn't have to use a lot more plastics on the buttons to actually create buttons and so on. That's one thing probably that I like about it. Let me put this car on adaptive cruise control, because it has that. And when it has that, it means it's easier to actually run around and... Okay. Why is it cancelled now? Okay, it's on. Why increase the speed? Okay, we're fine at 105, right? So that we can talk properly. So yeah, that's the thing that I think they've done well with minimizing the costs and so on. Then when it comes to the overall design, guys, we have to be honest, this thing looks amazing. This thing looks amazing. From outside, you can see the seamless design that they've done here, that it works out. EVs, most of them are ugly to me, especially when they take traditional cars and then they have to delete like the grille and so on, and then it has to look in a certain way because of aerodynamics and so on. This one, for me, because it's an EV from ground up, it doesn't bother my eye, and it's so cute. Grabs attention on the road. People have been looking at this car and wondering, and I went to Kasi once, and the questions that I got, man, what is happening? What is this? This is an EV and so on. Show us how it plugs in and so on. It was just amazing, of course. But I know, even when you're in the city, even when you're in the suburbs, people still look at it. Probably some are saying, I want to buy this thing because they can buy. You know they can do that, right? You know a lot of them can do that, especially in the Pretoria East and so on. Probably they're looking at it to buy. So that's a good thing, Volvo. That's a good thing. But hey, overall, for me, the exterior design from the front, the seamless design, the way the lights are integrated into this, I can't say grille, but the body color, somehow it works so well for me. On the side, you will find that on this ultra spec, you get the 20-inch. You keep going down. When you get the plus, you will get the 19-inch, and then on the core you get the 18 inches. But this looks amazing. The proportions of this car, as much as somehow they impact the practicality, I think it looks rather amazing. This thing looks cute. This thing looks nice. From the rear as well, I like that seamless lights integration at the back, the LEDs, typical of Volvo, to design them in a way that they go all the way to the roof. You can't miss that it's a Volvo, but at the same time, it looks rather amazing. Jumping inside, the seamless design, just the screen, and that's it. Soundbar. You get inside and you can see that actually, you know what, I see what they were trying to do. Then you can feel that there is an element of sustainability in the materials that they used. Actually, as much as it's not like overly soft touch and so on, it still feels a touch premium in how it feels. The steering wheel as well, some may say, why is it looking like this? What is this shape anyway, guys? I've got shapes kill me sometimes. Oh, it's time to pull it. It's time to pull it. Whew. This thing pulls. This thing performs. This thing pulls. Look, what was I saying? I was talking about the interior and the seamless design of it. I mean, everyone who gets in, they can agree that this thing actually is well put together. It's well made, feels solid as well. The design as well. I was still talking about the steering wheel. It's a little unusual, even with the size, because it's a little small. But I understand they had to make it like this just for you to feel that it's an EV. It's a little bit different, and so on and so on. So from that perspective, I understand what they were trying to do. The screen, the integration, like all this ambient lighting. By the way, in the Ultra, you get the full ambient lighting, which also eliminates in the door bins in there. But in the others, you're not gonna get the full LED what is this ambient lighting like this. But hey, you'll get used to it. Of course, you'll get used to it. Hey, look, this interior, the seats, the way they feel, the sustainable material. I think Volvo said they used around 25% sustainable material, recycled materials on the exterior, and then in the interior they used around, I think, 30% recycled materials. So it's a sustainable car. For those that love sustainability, it's an EV. I think from that perspective, there's just so much that I can motivate for people who are environmentalists to say this is the car that you need to get. When I'm looking at the seats as well, man, they feel like there's cloth, right? Then there's this leatherish stuff, and then on the center console as well, I don't know what material is this, but it just feels like, it feels so nice to touch, man. It feels so nice to the hands that I think Volvo, man, they managed to capture a lot of what we need in the future, and also try to bring it a little bit down, because that's what we need right now. We don't need to just have some, like, you know what, radical changes, but evolutionize this thing. And I think for me, they've nailed it, especially in the world where we are already transitioning between EVs and ICE vehicles. But one thing that I indicated is that the proportions of this car have eaten into its practicality. And because this car measures, I think, around 4.2 meters or so, when you get in the rear seat of my position, I measure 1.7 meters. I find that it's a struggle. My wife is not that tall, but she was struggling a bit when it comes to that. And then we needed to push the seat back, like front. Why am I saying back? Like towards the front a bit, so that the rear-facing baby seat can fit in properly, and then we can travel easily. From that perspective, I think it has some tight spaces. It has some tight spaces that I think, yeah, you just need to be aware of. So it's not an EV that you can say if you have a big family you will be looking at, because yeah, the space in here, I think, compared to the Julian, for example, a Julian, I think it's sitting at 2.7 meters. We're talking 2.7 meters of wheelbase. This one is just below at 2,650, I think. So that has an impact. And then the boot space as well, we're talking about 318 liters or so. So yeah, it's a little bit tight. It's more than the Julian, I can promise you that, especially the Julian. Yo, guys, I wasn't that focused when it comes to this 10. Sorry, but yeah, when it comes to the boot space, especially because this one has an extra storage at the back, at the very least, I think it's much better than what I experienced in the Julian. Guys, that Julian EV doesn't have enough boot space. I will complain about that for days, because yeah, that bothered me a lot. Anyway, coming back inside, you will find that there is a lot that you can put your stuff on, from the cup holders that you can adjust this so that it can be something like a bin and a cup holder at the same time. The door bins are so big. Disadvantage, of course, is that things will just be moving around. There is space under the center console where you can put a lot more stuff. I mean, where you put your wireless charger thing on the pad, you can also put another phone on the side as well. There is USB-Cs in front, USB-Cs at the back as well. So besides the space for people, this thing is packed with space. The glove box as well, as I've indicated, is quite enough. You can open here to actually just see it. And then everything else around practicality, I think they've nailed it for living in this car. Unfortunately, it's just those tight spaces. What I like though is that even with the sunroof, because this has a static sunroof, you still get plenty of like headroom in it, which is not necessarily something I can complain about, because for taller people, unfortunately, your legs are too tall, then you're gonna have a problem. But for the headroom, it's just gonna be enough for you, because this thing has a static sunroof. You only get it in the Ultra though, as standard, and it doesn't close. One thing that I was worried about for me was what's gonna happen when it's hot. And there was one Sunday where we parked under the 38-degree sun, and I was so impressed that this thing managed to keep out the heat, because I was worried that we were gonna bend down, but we didn't bend down. Of course, it managed it so well actually that I couldn't complain, because this aircon is quite good. It's quite good. I don't know, I thought these things are gimmicks when they sing the air quality. This thing has purifying air, whatever. It tells you what happens, pollen, blood filtering, all those things are in here. This aircon feels quite good. It's quite good. It's like it's heating all the way, like, and recirculating properly in the car. I love what they've done with it. I think they mentioned something about heat pump. I don't know what that does. You'll tell me in the comment. But hey, look, there's so much that this car offers, and I have to say, for me, if I was to think about this as a car, my man or my sister, look, I really think this is one of the best cars that I've driven this year. I'm not saying for now, because it's an EV, I can buy it right away because I stay in an apartment. But if I had a garage, I would think about it hard, because besides the fact that it's an EV and it's still a struggle in South Africa to actually get like EVs, chargers and all these things, yeah, that's still a problem. But if I think about it as a car, man, the way it drives on the road, the way it manages to just, you know, it's like personalized for you the moment you come in. That's something that I appreciate about it. It feels so great to be in this car, man, and I love being in here. And I think it's one of the best cars that Volvo offers right now. Yes, right now, if I was to compare to the experience in the XC60 plug-in hybrid, I would take that car, because it makes sense. I still want to do long distance and so on. I'm not always in the cities, but when I think about it as a vehicle, man, what a car. I think overall I understand why this car has been winning awards, because it's just so good at what it does. Okay. So guys, it's that time now. I'm almost where I am going, and this thing, as you know, it is pumping 1040 watt sound system that is in here, a soundbar in front, of course, and hey, it has a subwoofer at the back. And I think, besides the fact that I know that Bose and Wilkins in the XC60 is proper, this for me, it's actually quite good. I didn't expect it to be this good, but yeah, because I thought, because then the sound would be coming from the front, because a lot of speakers are in front than in the rear, it still probably surprised me in how it sounds. And I'm gonna play the same song that we played in the XC60, so that you can gauge it properly. So yeah, you can compare the sound systems compared to the XC60. Play the same song as well in the GLC when we did that long trip. Look, for me, guys, probably, yeah, I've already said it. This is one of the best cars that you can find out there. No one can chase you easily on the road. And once you start moving, try catching this thing off the line and you'll see what happens. Guys, I think I've been babbling a lot today. For some reason, I didn't feel like I'm well connecting, but hey, look, I enjoyed this car so much, and I think it's one of the best cars out there, besides the fact that it's an EV. It's the best EV for me that I've driven, and it's one of the best cars overall. So with that said, guys, almost there. Really appreciate that you've been here with me, and it's also heading to be night. Thank you so much, and I appreciate it, and I am out.